Canadian vampire hunter Dracul Van Helsing talks to noted British author Jane Austen in an English country garden as the pair sit on a bench outside an English country cottage. Canadian vampire hunter Dracul Van Helsing was taking a walk along a country path, in that part of England associated with noted Regency-era author Jane Austen. The sky suddenly shifted from an extremely bright sunny one to a more cloudy but nevertheless pleasant-looking evening anticipating the coming of a gentle rain. Almost as if Dracul Van Helsing had encountered a vortex in time and had gone either forward or backward in time. Suddenly Dracul Van Helsing recognized author Jane Austen, wearing a pale lilac-colored nightgown and sitting on the bench in an English country garden outside an English country cottage. Van Helsing had recently traveled back in time, and had encountered a 28-year-old Jane Austen back in the spring of 1804. "Hello, Mr. Van Helsing," Jane smiled. "Good evening, Miss Austen," Dracul answered back. The vampire hunter deduced that he must have again traveled back to the spring of 1804 when Jane Austen would have been 28. Van Helsing sat down next to Jane Austen and the pair once again discussed art, literature, philosophy and life. Jane asked Dracul about his strange-looking modern attire. "The period in which I come from has even stranger-looking attire," Van Helsing explained. "I live in an age where men think they're women and women think they're men." "My God," Jane gasped. "The age in which I live has the consciousness of the void," Dracul explained. "The inmates have taken over the asylum in my time and sanity and truth are regarded as crimes against the state and crimes against humanity." "Is there nothing good about your time?" Jane asked. "Only when they make movies or TV series based on your books whether finished or unfinished," Dracul replied. Sanditon, a British TV series based on an unfinished novel by Jane Austen and the only good thing about the entire decade of the 2020s so far in Dracul Van Helsing's opinion. "Nothing else good about the decade in which you're currently living?" Jane inquired. "Well, a friend of mine has developed computer software to help people with dyslexia," Van Helsing answered. Jane Austen had never heard of dyslexia. Van Helsing explained that in the year 1877 the reading and spelling difficulties characteristic of dyslexia were first identified by Adolf Kuschmauer, a German professor of medicine. His friend with dyslexia Timothy Wood was considered mentally disabled as a child and they wouldn't let him enter the school system. His grandmother however taught him to read using the King James Bible, the complete works of William Shakespeare and the novels of Sir Walter Scott. Timothy Wood had once written a Jane Austen-style Regency novel called The Sturleys of Oakland Park, which is available at https://www.lulu.com/shop/Timothy Wood/The Sturleys of Oakland Park/paperback/product 1WG887G.html. "My favorite line from the book," Dracul recalled, "was about a woman whose cooking was so bad that it was said of her that if she had been a cook in Britain's Royal Navy, she'd have been the most formidable weapon in Napoleon's arsenal." "Sounds like a line I could have written," Jane Austen laughed. "It does," Dracul agreed. The dyslexia software that Timothy Wood developed is available at http://www.polyspeaks4u.go.za/. Back in the year 2023, the former DARPA operative codenamed Hyperion Sturm has been brought back to DARPA to help out with a project he had developed. The project was called Jeffrey the Otter. Jeffrey was an actual otter that Hyperion Sturm had taught how to read and write. Jeffrey was used to read and translate, for he had been taught a dozen different languages, intelligence agency documents from all over the world. Jeffrey had two problems however. He was dyslexic. And he was an alcoholic. Now thanks to Timothy Wood's computer software for dyslexics, which is available at http://www.polyspeaks4u.go.za/, Jeffrey the Otter no longer has problems reading. As for his alcoholism, well, the otter had better join Alcoholics Anonymous. Hyperion Storm was brought to DARPA headquarters for Jeffrey the Otter had vanished. Hyperion later found him in a strip bar drinking green minnow beer alongside the great Irish Jewish-American science fiction writer George Finnegan Berg, who was drinking Ernest Hemingway's own invented cocktail called Death in the Afternoon, which was a mix of champagne and absinthe. "I prefer these to Dr. Anthony Fauci's vaccine booster shots if I have to go," Finneganberg explained. To be continued. A Vampire Novel Chapter. Written by Christopher. Thursday, May 11th, 2023. Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like, share and subscribe. www.polyspeaks4u.co.za